Howdy YouTube. So today I'm going to be talking about the 1 week break that I took from social media. And I just want to start by saying it was weird. It was very weird to take a break from social media because something that I haven't really mentioned before is that the way that I make money right now is through social media, not on my own personal accounts, but I run social media accounts for other people. So in another video that I made, I had found out that I spend about an hour a day on social media. So that's obviously not that bad, or I mean, I don't know, I guess that's relative, but I only spend an hour a day on social media. So deciding to cut out social media for 1 week wasn't really that hard for me, but it was harder than I thought it would be just because I don't realize how much I'm getting into it. So originally I thought, when I saw that I spent about an hour a day on social media, that I was spending 30 minutes at a time, maybe an hour at a time, and then I wouldn't get on it for the rest of the day. But my form of social media use comes in looking at it for 5 minutes or so a whole bunch of times throughout the day. So it was weird because I'm not really into Instagram and TikTok and Snapchat. I'm not really on them all the time, but I just kind of do it out of habit when I get bored. So for the past week, I just kind of noticed whenever I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do, or if I just got bored or I wasn't thinking about anything, or I just wanted something to make me laugh really quick, I would get out my phone and pull it out, but then I'd be oh, and I'd realize that the apps weren't on my phone, and I'm okay, and I should have kept track of how much I do that throughout the day, and kept a little tally or something just so I could see how many times I did that. But it was at least 12 to 20 times a day that I would get out my phone and be oh yeah, and then be oh. Just out of habit, I reached for my phone so much just to look and see if anybody had posted anything new or whatever. So yeah.
Did you finish?
No,
I'm sorry.
I'm actually recording right now.
What up, YouTube? I brought the famous girl Chipotle. Like and subscribe.
Okay, well, now this is gonna be an ASMR video, I guess, because I'm so hungry. But I did take a little break to eat it, and it looks terrible. It always looks really bad, but it tastes really good. So where was I? I just kind of want to go through the issues that I have with social media, because I think a lot of other people also have the same issues with social media, and also how getting rid of it for a week affected me, and if I think that I would get rid of it permanently. And by the end of the video, you'll know whether or not I'm permanently deleting Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok. If I'm missing any of these are the only ones I deleted, but here we go. My issue with social media is I feel a lot of people don't really use it for the right reasons. And you can use social media obviously for whatever you want to, but I think a lot of people look at social media comparatively, where they're comparing themselves to maybe people they know that are doing better than them, quote unquote, or celebrities that there's no competition really. I just don't like it, because originally when I decided that I was going to cut out social media, it was because I noticed that I was comparing myself to a lot of influencers. And mind you, I'm not at a point now where I'm an influencer. I just enjoy making videos. I like YouTube. Hopefully one day I get monetized and become an influencer and do all that. That would be really cool. But I noticed that I was comparing myself to people that are already there. And where that can go wrong is you're looking at these people and you're oh my God, this girl is so pretty. But mind you, even though I know this, in the back of my head, I don't think about it when I'm looking at these videos and these pictures, but most of the things that you see on social media are photoshopped, scripted, or fake. And not to say that those things are the end of the world, but you're comparing yourself, a lot of us are comparing ourselves to things that don't even really exist, and that's the issue. So when you're looking at a really pretty girl on Instagram, and maybe she has a really nice body, and you see that she has a big butt or big lips or whatever it is that you want, a lot of times it's either surgically enhanced if they're already super rich and famous, or photoshopped, or both. And the other issue that I have with it, it's so hard to eat and talk. I don't see how people do this. I don't understand how people do it at all. But the other thing that I have an issue with is the fact that we're comparing ourselves to these people in terms of like how successful they are, in terms of like what we consider to be successful, like money, fame, whatever it is that you're going after. Or even if it's just like simpler stuff, like you're 25 and you see other 25-year-olds that have bought houses or have kids or whatever it is. Whatever your goals are, you see other people that are out there that have done that, and you're comparing yourself because you're like, okay, a lot of people that are my age, however old you are doing this thing or have this thing. I feel like I should have this thing by now. And I don't like that because it's like, everybody's doing something different. Everybody moves at their own pace. So you might be 23, like I am, and you're comparing yourself to these YouTubers, potentially, that are like 17, 18, 19 years old, that have already blown up. Or these people that are like musicians. Like you look at super famous people like Doja Cat or Zendaya or whoever it is that you look up to that's like actually on TV. And you see that they're like around the same age you are. And if that's something you're going after, you're like, oh my gosh, like, did I miss my mark? Am I not doing, well enough? I don't know. Overall, I just think that comparing yourself to other people, sometimes it can motivate you to try to do better, try to get what they have. But at the end of the day, I'm always gonna feel like it's mostly a bad thing, just because when you're comparing yourself to other people, you're also simultaneously thinking that like you're not good enough or you don't have enough or you're not reaching these milestones quickly enough. Oh my god, I ate way too fast. Whew. But the results somewhat surprised me. Overall, I would say that I had a pretty good experience with it, just because I found that in that hour that I was spending on social media, I actually ended up reading for a pretty good portion of that time. And I just kind of realized that like an hour a day on social media isn't a lot, but if I was putting an hour a day into reading a book, which is what I defaulted to just because it was like a different form of entertainment, just not as like quick. And the week that I wasn't reading social media, and the week that I wasn't reading, and the week that I wasn't on social media, I ended up reading 294 pages. And like for some people that are really quick readers, that's not impressive at all. But I got through almost 300 pages of this really thick book in about a week, just because I didn't really have anything else to do, and that sounds sad. So I got more than halfway through that book, and it's like a 500 and something page book. So I was really impressed with myself, because I'm like, I never can find the time to read, but I just didn't really put two and two together that I had the time to read. I was just spending it in other ways. And the other thing that I found when I deleted social media is that I spent a lot more time actually having conversations with people. If I didn't feel like reading, I'd be like, let me call and see what my dad's doing or my mom's doing. And it was really cool too, because after that week, the same people have been calling me more, just because it's like, oh, like, I mean, obviously people want like interactions to be reciprocated, but I just didn't realize that it's like, oh, like maybe people do want to talk on the phone more than like text or DM. So there's a downside, and this is something that I was not really expecting at all. I thought it would be all positives. What I failed to realize is that since I'm someone that lives in a different state than literally all of my family and friends, that's how I keep up with like other people's milestones. I would have completely forgotten about this person's birthday, or I wouldn't have known that this person was engaged, or I wouldn't have known that this person found out that they're pregnant. Just little things like that, since I'm not really around like my family and friends and the people that I know and love. Social media is the primary tool that I use to keep in touch with people that I don't really typically call. As for whether or not I think that I would permanently delete social media, drumroll, not really a drumroll, obviously the answer is no. I know for a fact that if I were to delete social media permanently, I think that a lot of my really close relationships that I already have would get even stronger, just because I would actually be calling them and talking to them on the phone. But I think a lot of the relationships that I have that are kind of like in that outer circle where it's like, I know you, I care about you, I'm probably not gonna call you really. I don't know, I think that I would lose touch with a lot of those people and not even realize like when they have kids or, just things like that. So social media has a lot of negatives, a lot of cons for sure, but there are also a few really good things about social media, because I think more than anything, I use it just to keep up with the people that I know and love, and I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. I consider myself to be an introvert, so I'm typically not going to reach out to people a ton. But that's all I have for you guys today. If you liked this video, hit the like button, and if you want to see more content like this, then hit subscribe, and yeah.